this village. And that's not just IDOT. I mean, Hainesville Road is a Lake County road. So, in fact, I recently talked to Pat Perry about it, and have been talking to anybody I can at Lake County about Hainesville Road. And then from the IDOT perspective, yes, I talked to Susie. You know, of course, Susie also recently was at a Route 53 meeting. So that is trying to move, you know, ahead. And, you know, I'm very much in favor of that progressing. So we covered transportation through A through Z, you know, within Hainesville boundaries, and then how our residents get to and from work. So we did cover that. So Susie does generate a regular newsletter to me and other officials, and then I have contact. She's very accessible. So when she goes back to Springfield shortly, I anticipate being in close contact and getting updates from her. I know that she will work. I believe that Susie's very sincere and will be diligent on these matters. I've known Susie for a number of years, and she's very persistent in her pursuits. However, I also am not going to kid you. Susie and I also talked about finances in the state of Illinois. And, you know, Susie, until recently, was chair of the Lake County Board for some time and did a lot of tremendous financial work at the county board level. Susie said, boy, they have a lot of work to do down there because they don't need to just cut millions, they need to cut billions. I mean, they almost need to just scratch it all and start over. So, but that being said, where do you put your money and you want to create jobs? So transportation and road improvements are a you know, tremendous direction to go. So I think we'll just be, certainly, I encourage you to come to meetings, watch us on YouTube, and pursue me for updates from the ESOZ and from Lake County.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to address the board at this time? Jim?
Sorry about my hip.
That's all right.
At the end of my presentation, I forgot to mention the items I passed around, plus others, are on display at the Grays Lake Municipal Museum, right across from the firehouse, or right next to the firehouse.
Terrific, and I encourage everyone to go see it. I understand there's a nice display there. And I'm blanking out, who was the master of ceremonies? Pat, Jim,
Dave Oberg.
Dave Oberg, thank you. Dave Oberg is the new director over at the museum. And I didn't have a chance to talk to him until Sunday. Very impressed with him. Was impressed that Grays Lake secured him because he came to them from Geneva, Illinois. And if anybody's ever been to Geneva, Illinois, it's quite a lovely town. And very impressive. He just very knowledgeable, and he did a great job being the master of some ceremonies over there. So please go visit the museum. I'm also going to get them to do another Hainesville display in the future because we're, our 150th back in '97, Charlotte Renahan spearheaded a very nice display. She has quite a bit of Hainesville history in her archives, so I'm going to get them to pull it out again. Maybe we can get a display for a couple months.
Is the museum different from the Historical Society, or is it the same thing?
Pat, yeah. I'll give you the floor, because you probably know better than me than just how that all works.
So quick, the Historical Society is a historical society that works with the village to maintain the history of Grays Lake. They have collected over all the years all the artifacts that are in the museum.
Okay.
So the museum is owned and operated by the village in conjunction with the Historical Society. They maintain their offices in the basement, their archives, etc. So Charlotte's still very involved.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Pat.
Thanks.
Is there anybody else that would like to address the board? Okay. Let's get on with some business. On the bus vote agenda, do we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Trustees Dermanowski.
Aye.
Freeze.
Aye.
Duberstein.
Aye.
Barrett. And Walkington.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, we'll move on to reports and communications from our officials. We'll start with the village engineer.
Thank you, Mayor. We called Clean Cut Tree Service out to a List Drive project to perform some warranty work out there, such as they reseeded some portions of the lawn with little or no growth. far as our motor fuel tax fund is concerned, we sent out plans to 4 bidders for the crack filling work in the Deer Point, remainder of the Deer Point subdivision. However, we received only 1 bid from Beam Pavement Maintenance. They were the contractor that performed the work last year. Their bid was for $24,381. This is about half of the appropriated funds of $50,000, which we appropriated in some previous meetings. Comparing the bids to, since we had only 1 bidder, we compared the unit prices to last year's, and essentially it was a 2.5% reduction from what we paid in 2010. So we consider that price to be fair, and we recommend approval of the contract for Beam Pavement. And there's an agenda item in the business section covering that topic. Pineview Apartment Water Main Extension, Elmwood, and the omnibus agenda, we approved their second pay request. We're still retaining $3,400 to make sure that the sod grows properly out there. The IAPA loan program for our water main projects, there was some question as to where these water main projects were actually taking place, so I included a little map with my report. Basically, it's across the grower property, connecting up from the Hainesville Professional Center out to the school, and there's another section that runs under Route 20, near that Route 120, 134 intersection. We're still working on easements for that particular task, and we can't actually submit the loan application until all that's been completed.
I do have one concern going back to the list project.
Yes.
You and I had talked with the resident who's present tonight. I had an update from him prior to the board meeting. I take it you took.
So did I.
You did? Okay.
Clean cut people will be out there again if need be. And,
Let's just, it sounds like whoever went out there and threw the seed down didn't have much authority to do much else, and basically I think said he needed to go back, but nobody's heard anything. We need to find out what the final answer is, and then we need to talk, because whether they're going to take care of it or we'll take care of it, it needs to be done. And now's a good time to do it, so we'll get it taken care of. Other than that, I just want to say, I think the residents are very happy with the work, other than just not the seed all taken. Okay. Pretty.
Give people a backyard, now they want grass too.
I just want to see that grow.
I want the dog in the
Oh, that's the worst, the talking. Okay, we'll move on to our village attorney, Jim Ryan.
As Greg mentioned, we're still working on obtaining easements from several of the property owners for the water main extension projects. We've been working on some issues related to CENTCOM over the last month, and also prepared the ordinance that's on the agenda tonight, and had an on-site meeting with a property owner who has requested a building permit to complete some work, Mr. Bowley, with him and his attorney.
Okay, our public works superintendent was going to try to come to the meeting late, but I don't know that he'll make it. He had an important doctor's appointment with his son who was injured in a football game. I'm happy to say no balls were broken, but certainly that's a priority. So we'll let Gary fill us in when we get down to public works. We'll move on to our building official, Russ Fraley.
One thing I have is you got my report already, and I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Nothing else to say.
Well, I'll add some to that.
Okay.
Russ did submit an article that will be going out in the newsletter. It's going out with the utility bill. And I'd like to give all the residents and even businesses, but mainly residents, a heads up and out in YouTube land. I know that the economy is rough, and I know these are hard times, but we have properties that are not being properly maintained. And not mowing your grass and not trimming is unacceptable. Leaving your garbage cans thrown around or in front of your garage all week is unacceptable. And Russ is been driving around and issuing yellow tags, which are warnings, and going back to check and make sure everybody's compliant. And we are going to be more strict about this because it is just happening more and more. And I'm happy to report, if you're not aware of it, Russ has retired this summer from his other job, and he has plenty of time to drive around town. So beware. All right, we'll move on to public safety. Trustee Crease.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the Public Safety Committee had their meeting August 30th at 6:15. At that meeting, we discussed for future meetings, and we decided that the fourth Tuesday of every month at 6:15 will be our standard meeting every month. The topics that we discussed at the meeting at that time was a few topics that Linda and I got together on, and that was the pedestrian crossing signal at Tall Oak and Hainesville Road. I talked to a John Sauter at Lake County Department of Transportation, who sent me an email on the manufacturers of these devices and everything else. I don't have everything together yet, and I couldn't tell you about the total cost, but I think we'd also have to look at how much usage you might be getting, or what cost we would be looking at, saying whether we're going to do it or not. I know public safety safety at that crossing is very important, okay? But I'm just saying, one of the signs could be up to $70,000, okay? So that's what we have to look at, which way we're going to do, what's the best for the time. Folding stop signs for the intersections, which when we lost power, okay? That was another thing that John Sauter and I talked about, okay? And we were going to get them to put them at our intersections that were within the village. But what we found out, what I found out from him, was the fact that you have to get permission from the state, and you also have to get permission from the Lake County, okay, on their intersections and where you can put them in. There's a little training session with them, okay, with Lake County, because they get the keys to the box so that the person who's going to hold down the signs will be turning on the flashing red lights. Well, Lake County says that they'll be able to do it, but the state says that they will not allow anybody to do it. So the state will not allow you to put holding stop signs at their intersections.
Really?
So, yes.
So what about the ones that already have them? Why do they allow them? They're just grandfathered in?
They're probably grandfathered in. I'm not sure if any of them have them, or would they have them in the Grace Lake?
Grace Lake has some.
Are they in the county, or are they on the 120? That's what we have to look
If
at.
they're not on 120, they're on any of the sidewalks. I don't remember seeing any.
They're on some county roads, that I,
But the county's
we'll
fine.
have to look.
Yeah.
I'll have to look.
Right, the county's fine. So-
That's the police department.
So we're gonna have to look into what we're gonna do with that.
Okay.
The one intersection that we have is the one in Washington, Hainesville Road.
All right, and by the way, if you notice, I jumped to the official reports to the standing committee reports, and I did that because EMA was coming up, and we will be going back to EMA, but I wanted to touch on public safety because Trustee Crease has taken over public safety, and he kind of jumped on these projects, and I wanted everybody to be kind of brought up to speed, and for Mike's sake, with some things he'll be moving forward with in the near future.
Okay.
Okay, so now we'll go with.
I do have one more thing. One more
Okay.
item that we did discuss in there, and that was,
Okay.
I feel that there's unsafe condition that was existing on the bike path, just south of Washington, just north of Big Horn, okay, and that was a culvert that was put in, the drainage ditch and everything else, and they put rocks in there for the erosion. I'm sending a letter off to the county to investigate it. I have pictures, I'm going to send with it, and once I get a response back from them, we'll see what happens, whether a
And
fence
the
or a wall.
concern is if you tumble,
If you veer off the bike path, I'd say just an inch to 2 inches. I do have a picture of it, okay? And, somebody could lose control of their bike and fall into the pile of rocks. And so it's not,
Yeah.
and that's what I noticed at the time. So I am sending everything off to them to find out what they need to do, whether it's a wall or, or a fence or whatever.
A rail.
A rail or whatever, right.
Could Avon Township Highway help with that? Or is that gotta come?
well, that has to go to the county first, it's their bike path, and they really should
So,
respond to it.
and so our next public safety meeting is going to be September 27th at 6:15. Everybody's welcome.
Terrific. EMA coordinator, Mike Backo.